Rival versus CAZ. That's going to be our second matchup here in the SCL. My name's Tom, and that's Anatoly, and we're going to bring you the remainder of the European scene. Rival has looked really strong, sort of the go-to team when talking about EU console. We'll see how they deal against CAZ.
Absolutely, the last season as well, Gnome, Watson making the staple impact in this team specifically. So as we head into picks and bans for the first game here, we're going to see what kind of strategies have developed from a rival heading through into Season 4.
Ain't nobody want to play against an Odin. The big ring man's going to be banned out right away. Zeus going to follow suit as well. These two gods, specifically in European console, tend to be really, really just highly sought after, or nobody wants to see them.
We saw what TMNT was able to do that first game in the last set just made a huge impact, and surprisingly enough, it was CAZ that banned it away with their first pick. Instead of electing to pick up the Poseidon 50-meter fly in the last set, did a wonderful job on this god, and this is something that maybe CAZ picked up on wanting to do it themselves.
I mean, Poseidon's always just a strong pick. Kraken is going to hurt a lot of players, and the utility of the Whirlpool also very strong. The fact that his tide meter allows him to zoom around like Sonic is certainly a strong pick as well. Hercules and Cabrakan across the way, going to be a good look, but Hercules going to be stunted a little bit by what Poseidon brings, and Thanatos theoretically can do a very good job of dealing with Hercules despite that heal.
Absolutely. As long as they can manage to lock down the Hercules with a cripple from the Whirlpool out of Poseidon, this is the main focus point for CAZ in these team fights. But now trying to prevent that execute, it's going to take the Aphrodite here just to get a little bit more healing on the table.
Afro picked and Kali banned. Very interesting world we're in. Essentially what players are afraid of is the Afro-Kali combination. Kali gets 2 lives, with Afro she gets 3 lives, and that's a whole nother ball game that you just don't want to play. So Team Rival, they've got their Afro, but they won't have a hyper carry in Kali. We'll see what they plan to pair with the Afro. Anhur will be selected. Do you think it's Afro support or Afro mid?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Aphrodite mid. Definitely not solo lane, because there's going to be too much pressure applied onto that solo mage electing to steal away her blue buff. But instead, if you can get Aphrodite comfortably in the mid to late game, you hold her hand and out of the mid lane with your jungler, then you're going to be in a good spot. So the question is, what is Team Rival's last pick? It needs to be some kind of really great hyper late game carry pick here.
Yeah, you've got 2 frontliners in the way of Hercules and Cabrakan. Fenrir is going to be a little bit half and half. Aphrodite, sort of your backline frontliner, if you will. She's going to be in the backline, but connected to somebody to allow her to help out that front line. Anhur is going to be dealing a lot of the damage. We're not seeing that late game hyper carry here for Team Rival, so they really just have to hit everything nice and strong in the mid game. CAZ Esports, on the other hand, burst. We'll get in the game and see which composition winds up on top. The Thanatos are going to be playing in the jungle by OverPoweredUSB. CAZ will have their regular lineup, and we'll see how it all works out here, Anatoly. Now, Watson playing this Afro in the mid lane. I always have to bring up the fact that he was once a solo laner, because I think once a solo laner, always mentally a solo laner. We see Baskin shift over to the mid in North American PC, and Watson shifting over to the mid here in European console. But that mentality of looking for the small victories and the matchups always stay with you.
Yeah, you're looking for the kind of similarities whenever you change a role here. But Watson has been playing this position here for nearly 6 to 8 months, I want to say, since the Summer LAN in the last season, once we saw the roster swap where Gnome joined. And between 2 solo laners, they elected to try to switch it up between Gnome playing mid and Watson playing mid. So ultimately staying with Watson here is not a bad spot. Also, this composition here helps out Watson playing the Aphrodite here, because they have 3 very aggressive frontliners between Cabrakan, Fenrir, and the Hercules. What happened on right lane? Overpowered. Wow.
What happened on right lane? I'll answer you right now. Overpowered picked Thanatos. OverPoweredUSB playing the Thanatos doesn't get banned out this time around, and this character is as early as they come. There is not a more early game character, I would say, Anatoly. Is there?
Arachne potentially would be maybe more early game oriented. Overpowered, though, does hit level 2 off of the blue buff. So we see Rapio taking away those backside harpies instead of rotating, trying to defend it.
So, all right, I'll give you the bug, maybe just a little bit, but Thanatos getting that first blood at minute 1, that's what you come to expect watching the God of Death here. Now wrapping around to pick up these elementals, he'll be able to assist Minos and the Ymir versus Hercules matchup. How does this one go?
Ymir versus Hercules is pretty straightforward for the Hercules. He's just going to clear very effectively, but both of them are going to want to stay at the melee line. The carpet from the Ymir is not long enough as well. Oh,
driving
no, though,
strike.
it's down.
Yeah, driving strike. Oh, the disc missed, and with the Death Scythe missed.
Not enough, though.
Still going to wind up with the kill.
It's because of the slow from the ice carpet from Minos. He couldn't get under the tier 1 tower of safety. Gnome is going to take an early spill. So not only does the jungle out of rival fall, now the solo laner is going to fall, which gives a little bit of a power spike play to CAZ. Their jungle and solo get their first 2 kills of the game. And once these buffs respawn in about a minute and a half to 2 minutes from now, CAZ is definitely going to apply even more pressure because they're going to have about level 5 or 6 versus level 4 or 5 out of the side of rival.
Thanatos is in a category of very few characters. I think you look at characters like maybe Kali, maybe Freya, where if they get a good enough lead like we're seeing right now, the game can be over at 1 minute because of the ripple effects of this lead. 1-0 and 1, Thanatos now half a level above the opposition. Do you think this is enough of a lead? You can see he's up at the top of the net worth as well. Think this is enough of a lead for him to run away with?
It depends on what happens at level 6 once these buffs respawn, because that's going to be the timing window. Currently, he is level 5. He does have the hovering def. Nobody is level 5 currently here on the side of rival, with the exception of the Anhur, but he's all the way on the left-hand side. He doesn't really have to worry about that one. There could be making some plays here at middle before Watson gets his ultimate shield bubble.
That's what I'm looking for. Ooh, nice and pale through the wave and the immediate ultimate Atonement. Trying to make it happen. Not going to pick it up this time around, but I love the attention to the Hercules early on. Listen, this is a kind of an even matchup. Herc's going to lose a little bit more blah, 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 but put him down. You never want to see our Hercules get off to a good start. So you put him down nice and early. Now it's time to just ult Watson. Late game, you can use that ultimate for an execute. But right now it's 3 minutes in. Land on him, Death Scythe him, and let Elexum just drop the Kraken. That's what you want to see over and over and over again if you're rooting for CAZ Esports. Overpowered USB on the Thanatos. You got to see that ultimate on cooldown all the time.
You don't necessarily have to at this stage of the game because the blue buff is respawning. You want to save it for this important objective. This is why we see the back from Overpowered USB. He has a nice power spike play of the Warrior Tabby looking on the side of Rapio. He doesn't have any items completed quite yet. He's still struggling a lot. And after that one death from Gnome, we're seeing a level disparity on the side of Minos because of the fact that the blue buff was stripped away from Gnome and that earlier death.
Team Rival going to pick up their own buffs this time around. Minos just going to pretty much watch. You can see the speed buff going to go their way as well.
Minos needs to be careful here. It's a 4-on-1 encounter. He's still buying a lot of time, though, because CAZ is going to clear out mid before Team Rival. It's just a little bit of a delayed tactic. Now Overpowered USB and Jeron making the rotation.
Yeah, Gnome wasn't sure if Minos was going to hard command, and he does. Here comes out of the sky Overpowered USB. Help from the jungler, but it doesn't matter. Minos gets the kill on the JacobHL. Off of the assist from Thanatos. Minos now half HP. Lovely taunt out of Jeron on the Athena. And the meditation is going to help him out as well. Worth noting, Jeron usually the hunter here in this case, playing support for Dobson this time around.
Not really too surprised here making that kind of switch. Jeron has been on the team for a little bit longer. He has more communication with his teammates, more familiarity, so he's going to be able to make some of those plays whenever he needs to. And on top of this, we see the lackluster performance by Watson because of this Aphrodite play. He wasn't able to really synergize very well in that team fight. He wasn't linked to JacobHL to be able to save his life. Instead, he was linked to Rapio.
Right now, CAZ leading by 3 kills, and that's going to give them a nice, big, comfy lead here. 5 minutes in, 1,600. That's a lot. And Overpowered USB doesn't show any signs of stopping. Slowed down, nice silence, nice hit. Driving strike saves him for the moment. And a big old heal coming out thanks to the mitigate wounds. And that's going to save him. Again, like I said, for the moment. Last time we saw Overpowered just kind of go grab lunch and come back and smoke out the Hercules. We'll see if he does it again.
Yet again, doing a lot of pressure onto the solo lane. Not finding the kill, but it's still going to force the back out of Gnome. Still, the threat of the hovering def is just too much. Still staying in the lane, though, is Gnome. Has to be careful because Minos is level 8. That ice carpet will definitely destroy Gnome's life if he's not careful.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it happen once already. Minos dropped down. Even with the missed Death Scythe out of Overpowered USB, Gnome was still taken down for the first blood because of that slow. I hate saying Death Scythe. I just wind up Wind up lisping it. There's a nice taunt out of Jeron. Not going to find the damage out of the mid lane. Elexum falls down. Beautiful trap by the Cabrakan. Overpowered USB shows up a little bit too late. Deals damage to Rapio, but he's by his lonesome. Gonna wiggle away and probably can get away if he finds a nice 180 disc. But I don't know if it's gonna happen totally. He's surrounded and he just can't get out of jail. Rapio picks up the kill. 2-1-0 for the jungler.
The beads was used by USB on the right-hand side, trying to find the kill onto Gnome, and as a result, didn't have it available during the mid lane. The Ragnarok pulled him away all the way into danger, and this time around, I like the play and the idea that CAZ had. They forced an ultimate really early out of Watson, being able to throw out Elexum's ultimate, trading the Kraken for the Aphrodite ultimate, but not enough damage out of overpowered USB before the Ragnarok picked him out of the teamfight.
See, that was the problem. Overpowered USB was just a little bit too late. What you wanted, the ideal sequence there is OP USB comes down from the sky, stuns him, and then Elexum drops the ultimate. Your Watson is going to use the ultimate for one of those situations. You can't hit both. Sort of like an Ares Hun-Bats combo. You got to hit one, and then the other is going to get you. That's what you're looking for to the Thanatos Kraken, but a little bit off the mark, just like that Frost Breath coming out from Minos. Instead, he'll just try to push the wave a little bit. CAZ Esports find themselves on the bad side of an exchange for the first time this young game. Team rival trying to fight their way back into it.
Still doing a good job, though, as CAZ, because Minos specifically on this Ymir hasn't been really pressured, and this is what you really want out of your Guardian in the solo lane. Now Elexum going to get stunned out in the mid lane. Ragnarok picking up one, but hovering in the air is overpowered.
And that's the combo that you want. OP USB comes right on down, and Elexum takes him to dinner. Double kill coming out for Thanatos. Important that he gets the kill. Keeps him alive. The obelisk! He can't move! Atonement lays it down. The pillar's sticking him there. No place for him to go. 2 kills for the guys on CAZ.
Not only did the pillar keep him in place, but Jeron basically prevented him from escaping on the right-hand side as well. Minos couldn't find the wall necessarily to stop JacobHL from retreating, and that's going to be a washed effort. So overall, Rapio falling for overpowered USB, but also taking a spill was Watson beforehand, so favoring CAZ 2 for 1.
And right here, when you see Team Rival versus CAZ, jungle for jungle, usually you want to compare how when a solo gets traded out for a support, right? Jungle for jungle seems even, but it's actually beneficial for Rapio here in the situation because of how early game focused the Thanatos is. That rush that he had early, the double kill nice and early, and then he gets a kill under the tower in the mid lane. This should feed Thanatos, but by stopping that and pausing him a little bit, you're allowing your own jungler, Rapio that is, to catch up, and that's going to really stunt what CAZ Esports was able to do in the early game.
Not only do you want to prevent the Thanatos from getting that snowball, you want to prevent him from getting any power spike items, and more importantly, the next one that he's working on is this Shield of Regrowth. That's going to give him a lot of mobility if he consistently hits these death sights.
And when it comes to Thanatos, we've seen a lot of aggressive builds come out here of late, all power, everything, but at the end of the day, Thanatos does very well with just his base values alone. Death Scythe is going to hit you for a percentage of your HP, regardless of what your build is, and then Execute is going to execute at its variable threshold, regardless of what power items you have. So normally what you see is full CDR Thanatos, and that Shield of Regrowth, 20 CDR, great start to the build.
Having so much mobility, 40% to be exact, every 10 seconds or so. So this is going to be an important factor for USB to find themselves in these positions to hit that hard damaging ability. However, they could also be a little bit more patient. Instead of forcing the issue in the mid lane too much with Jeron and Elexum, they could just wait for this dash taunt and save the ultimate out of USB to successfully dive the tier 1 mid.
Yeah, we'll see how that one works out. Nice ultimate out of Watson to save the life of Jacob there with the ultimate, but now it's down. How does CAZ respond after the fact? They respond by just handing over the jungler. USB has his ultimate, but instead walks into the team fight the short way and just gives himself up to Team Rival.
Use the beads instead of the hovering death, both providing CC immunity. Now it's going to be Minos trying to avenge his jungler's death. 1v4, gonna walk away, but gonna freeze Gnome, do a little bit of damage here onto Gnome, but it's not going to stop away the speed buff quite yet. Still doing a good job zoning, but nothing really being done in the middle or the left-hand side with all this delay tactics out of Minos. Gonna wall off Rapio for the moment. Could buy him enough time potentially with his blue buff.
Well, he's going to freeze the dog right now. No follow-up with the carpet, just a basic. Still gonna hurt thanks to Frostbite, but here comes Gnome. I don't know if Ymir has a basic speed, and he doesn't. Nice ultimate over the top to try and save, but it won't. Portal Demon goes the way of CAZ, nice and early. Minos gonna be flipped, kicked, stunned, controlled. Tremors, still gets the freeze, still alive, 40%. Hovering, death, not quite dead just yet, but Watson brought down to half HP. Minos mitigated all of that. Level 13, 2 above his direct opposition, the Hercules in the short lane, and everybody else trailing by maybe 3 levels outside of Atonement, so they just weren't relevant. Man, talk about the raid boss Ymir.
And this is a raid boss Ymir that didn't have Breastplate of Valor completed at that moment in time. Just now finishing it off, going for Wing Blade just to have even more mobility, a little bit more help is going to be very important for him to be able to try to dive the backline, because anytime he's going to have a linked target that he's against, that back off is going to slow any member. So having the Wing Blade here is going to allow Minos to dive the backline and use this Sunder. It's going to freeze out Gnome, use the carpet, a few more in-hands with that Frostbite, with Jeron's taunt, is going to apply a lot of damage.
Yeah, and you can see that big damage coming through. Gnome uses the heal, and that brings him up to about 85%. Rapio grabs a mid laner, but nice speed, saves Elexum for the moment.
That's all you're really looking to do out of a jungler. Fenrir, just force the beast at any given moment in time. Same thing goes with Jeron playing this Athena support, trying to look for people out of position with the double taunts, but instead not being as successful compared to Rapio.
So we've seen a lot of solo laners shift over to the mid lane, and we've seen a couple of, well, we've even seen some junglers shift over to the mid lane. But a lot of times I think solo to mid, they're very, very different, but you can sort of see where the similarities are there. Gnome still in trouble. Nice heal, saves him for the moment, brings him very low. Can you bring him into execute threshold? Doesn't look like Minos' ult is going to do the dirty work.
He could do it. He could try to go for the hovering death here, going into the jungle, instead walking over to the mid lane because the Gold Fury is being started on the left.
Yeah, that's a kill onto the Hercules, hovering death into the one, but doesn't want to see that. Instead, the Gold Fury goes down, ulting maybe a little bit early, but still looking for a target. Atonement is it. But he's already got the kill. Now one more dead is going to be overpowered USB. Just a little bit too late to the party. And still looking for the damage is going to be the guys on Team Rival. But the objective has started up one more time, this time with less interference.
Great leash of the Gold Fury. Jacob's ultimate doing a great job for the second time in a row, stopping the efforts. The interception of the dash to Petrify is doing a lot of damage. And a nice little kill yet again. Rapio taking a spill. So at least CAZ now get a little return kill. Nice wall from Minos.
Absolutely on time, but he's getting greeted by Watson. Pillar. And Atonement helps his team out. JacobHL get the kill one more time. Gold Fury will be started this time around. Minos the only one dead. Last time we saw 2 players dead. This time we have 1, but everybody further away. So all there is to control is Jeron dashes to the back, taunts 3, and gets everybody off the objective.
Just buying a lot of time because now Elexum has revived. Whirlpool comes out. The Gold Fury has been taken on the side of Team Rival, not stolen by Elexum, but it was still great execution from Jeron. The Kraken was not available from Elexum at that point, just now coming off of cooldown.
Team Rival has that in mind, though, right there, because if Poseidon shows up with that little on the Gold Fury, you have to leash, unless you know for a fact that his Kraken's on cooldown. Team Rival really utilizing the information to their advantage and making sure that they can stick to that objective, because there is no threat of said Kraken. So Rival pick up the objective and still bout trailing. That's going to tie the game, essentially. CAZ had a little bit of a lead, and now Rival going to tie it up with a single objective.
And
well done.
And something that Jeron did there is something that was really well demonstrated mechanically, because of the fact that there's a lot of characters that can stop Gold Furies, but there's some that can't do it directly by stealing it, but in terms of delaying it instead. One character more than others that comes to mind is Freya. Anyone that's doing the Gold Fury objective, you just find the whoop, and then all of a sudden the Gold Fury gets stolen. And the positioning that Jeron had to do the taunt in, he had to go outside the ring to be able to taunt everyone from Rival outside the ring as well.
Which is so entertaining because Jeron usually, like I said, traditionally a hunter. He's played hunter he's been around the professional scene for a while, and he's always played hunter. Here, CAZ Esports, this is a real change. This isn't a substitute. Dobson now joining previously on Aware Gaming. He'll be a full-time hunter for the squad, shifting Jeron over to the support role. So it's interesting to see those very meticulous mechanical shots coming out of Jeron. Here's my statement to you. I think it's interesting that Jeron playing support now because he can kind of do all the things that he wishes his support used to do when he was playing Hunter. What do you think about the shift from the carry position into this support role?
Well, Jeron still has the mindset of a Hunter during laning phase and what he wants to happen for the little team fight. So he's still going to be able to put his Hunter in a great position. So as long as he trusts the mechanics out of Dobson to be left alone for a while in the lane, then I have no qualms about Jeron going into the guardian position.
Kraken from Elexum. No euphemism. Was not a zoning Kraken. Just a bad one. Just rough stuff for the mid laner. Nice freeze. 3 men hit by the carpet as well. And the ultimate. Down comes Jeron for extra damage. 2 on 4. And honestly, CAZ doing just fine. Looking for a target is going to be the jungler. Still can't find him. Atonement on the backside. Gets both of his relics chased out thanks to the Thanatos.
Doing a great job, but unfortunately the rotation from Dobson was a little bit too late there. Majority of rival was overwhelming CAZ. They haven't found any kills quite yet, but the Petrify is able to steal this portal demon.
And now the fight afterwards is what CAZ is looking for. Gnome low, Jacob low, Rapio low, but can they bring them to 0, Toli? That's the question.
The wall.
Minos walls off 1. And Watson's likely to fall here. OverPoweredUSB with the kill credit. 4-4 and 2 for the jungler playing Thanatos today. 7 to 8 radar kills. And CAZ, though they strip away that objective, still barely taking the lead. 1,500. Looking to stretch that. That'll bring them to about 2,000 thanks to the tier 1 tower. And as they push down, no, instead they'll back up. And it's a return to base for the guys on CAZ.
A little bit of a stock market game coming out of CAZ Esports, at least in the experience department. They were up, they were down, and now they're back into the thick of things. Not too far ahead at the 18-minute mark. They still need to be mindful about how they take these engagements. Very fortunate there for Dobson to get there in the nick of time, turning the corner with the Petrify. And the beautiful thing about that is it's a channeling ultimate that takes about a second to fully commit. So you have enough time to move around a corner and charge it up. And that's a big surprise factor if you time that ultimate correctly.
Gold Fury going to be spawning here pretty quick. You know, I like the fact that you said it's like the stock market because CAZ Esports here, they're investing in this jungle Thanatos, right? You don't think he's a penny stock off the top, just instant gratification. But he was able to get a couple of kills, but didn't really snowball like we see Thanatoses do. But still, now it's about the investment to the late game. At level 20, he's able to execute you at a 40% threshold. That's disgusting.
Especially with the health pools that's just going to increase on the side of the Guardians.
Yes, that's what I was going for, Toli. The fact that Gnome and JacobHL, even especially with the Silver Talisman coming out from the Cabrakan, you're just going to have so much HP that a little bit of damage goes a long way in the late game.
There's definitely an effective health when you look at protections versus health. The protections is going to matter a little bit more in the early game against a lot of different gods, but you definitely want that health to be able to accompany that protections in the later stages.
Yeah, these items, it gets a little bit mathy, so we'll ask you to look it up rather than give you the whole lesson on here. But basically, these items don't all scale linearly. You want to find the sweet spot between protections and HP, and I can't just give you a number because it differs depending on the enemy opposition. If you're against a Nemesis, well, you want a little bit of a different composition than if you're against Shinsai Mobile. Mid lane, a little bit of a aggression here. Overpowered, just getting controlled. He's gonna just barely escape until Atonement turns around and puts one in his forehead.
That's the second time in a row that Overpowered doesn't use his ultimate to escape that Cabrakan ultimate, and nobody from the rest of his teammates utilizes their in-hands just to be able to break that Cabrakan ultimate. They need to figure out a way around JacobHL's ultimate.
Do they know? You think they... Nah. They gotta know that you can break the Cabrakan wall, right?
I'm pretty confident that these players playing at the SCL here in Europe definitely know that this is a mechanic that they can use.
Well, right now, that's a mechanic that Watson can use. Back off from a distance, gonna help out since he's paired up with Rapio. Jeron playing the aggressive Athena, still looking for the hurt. Not gonna find it, however. JacobHL, very low, relatively, I suppose. 40% for the support player. Gnome lurking in the jungle, can't find Minos. And now it's going to be the turnaround. Team Rival Gonna be pushing up in the mid lane.
5-on-5 still respawning is OverPoweredUSB. He does have the hovering def available to make
Nice
a counter
stop.
engage, but a beautifully placed obelisk, unfortunately for Atonement, not able to really find the pull push in his team's advantage. But it was more of a zoning obelisk than anything else because he didn't want anyone else from CAZ to be able to defend that tier 1 tower.
Yeah, I mean that was it was a beautiful pillar if you're on CAZ. Put it that way. Oops. Gold Fury started up by the blue team. Team Rival gonna respond by showing up a little bit. Jacob's here, but with those ultimates coming out, that's all CAZ Esports. A nice little lead they've amassed for themselves. Still trailing in the kills, but it don't matter. CAZ Esports up by about 3,000 gold thanks to superior objective secure.
Having both Portal Demons earlier on, finding this Gold Fury as well, doing a great job staying relevant in the game. I like the Desert Fury idea just to make sure Overpowered doesn't back here, and that's going to be a free dive for Rapio, finding a kill and forcing the bees out of Dobson.
Nice wall coming out of Minos, but unfortunately nobody can punish him just yet. Let's talk Rapio's build in general. Okay.
The Blood Forge into, that's a lot of lifesteal, and then you have Seething How.
So Fenrir in general, Jeron going to be up close and personal, taunting Atonement into big damage from Elexum, but still not going to find a kill just yet. Hercules drops the ult on top of Elexum, and Watson saves his jungler with an ult himself, but Dobson gets the kill.
Rival stayed a little bit too long. Gnome takes a spill. Watson's ultimate is not available. Diving the backline is Jeron, but nobody to follow up. Minos doing a good job zoning, and the tower paired up with Dobson finds a kill. JacobHL still in the rougher end of things. He's getting caught against that Ymir wall. And just like that, what was a 2-for-0 earlier on becomes a 3-for-0. CAZ defending their tier 2 successfully.
Just great defense. It's interesting because when we say defense and offense, when it comes to Smite, a lot of times these team fights will look similar. But that right there was a specific defensive set. Jeron and Elexum blow their stuff early on, knowing that Team Rival are going to come in heavy-handed looking for the initiation. And Minos waits till a little bit later to execute the walls and the stuns, making sure to spread out their options. As opposed to when you're playing offensively, Totally, you kind of want to jump in there all at once. Spreading out what you can do is very important for CAZ. They get the defensive stop, and they get the Fire Giant.
Great play from CAZ, using the Kraken to secure the Fire Giant, utilizing the wall from Minos to prevent anyone from Rival to get in position to steal that one away. And just like that, these Krakens have been on point for Elexum to secure these objectives. Finding the Fire Giant, finding the Gold Fury earlier on, paired up with Minos' ultimate. But because of those two ultimates on cooldown earlier on from that Gold Fury, that triggered Rival to start pushing down the left-hand side originally. Unfortunately for them, though, they overstayed their welcome, and now this is why CAZ is getting off to a little bit of a roll here.
This is why I always tell people that slash lines are just not that important. 007 for your Jeron here in his, what is this, debut game of support, and 0-3-6 for your mid lane Poseidon. Now, 0-0-7 with 10 kills for your team, that's actually a strong support slash line. But 0-3-6, you're kind of looking at this Poseidon, kind of maybe asking, I want a little bit more, but he's number 3 on the player damage, and we've seen the result. He's winning these team fights. He gets Gnome trapped in the tornado, and Rapio gets stuck in the whirlpool as well. The Krakens, like you said, have been on point. He's not finding these last hits to wind up in the kill column, but Elexum and Jeron have absolutely picked up where Overpowered, I think, kind of slipped in the mid game.
These are the two players that have been through thick and thin together back in the day in Season 3. They've been playing together for quite a long time. So these are your two players that are very comfortable with each other.
Nice silence to stop the brutalize. Oh, but the Death Scythe going to miss this time around. OP-USB takes to the sky, and he's out. He wants no part of that fight against the dog. Left side, his team takes out the Tier 2 tower in the left lane.
And you were talking about the build from Rapio earlier on with his double lifesteal.
Yeah.
He has the Seething Hell as well. And now he has the Height of Nemean line. This build is to basically prevent himself from getting into that execute threshold. However, there's going to be a little bit of anti-healing in the form of CAZ Esports. Because of the Aphrodite, they're starting to build this Divine Ruin onto Elexum, the Brawler Speedstick onto USB, and Minos even having the Pestilence as well.
Yeah, you're gonna see USB really get excited in a little bit, but here, like I said, it's been the Elexum and the Jeron show since the early game. Now, Fenrir can be built a couple of different ways. You can look for the ability damage, you can look for the in-hand damage, and that's what you're seeing out of the Devo Grips build. Blood Forge also gonna work out. CAZ Esports with a very disoriented attempt here to take the Tier 2 tower. Team Rival doing a good job of defending. Everybody healthy except for Jacob.
Not able to really get out of this one because USB is in the sky, but he misses
by a mile.
Execute.
He misses by a mile, and now he's surrounded. OP USB. Somebody's got to plug him in. Finally gets a heal. There's going to be help for the mid lane, and he's going to be fine, totally. But that was a mistake that doesn't cost CAZ anything because they get the tier 2 tower. But like I said, early game, USB was on the money. But as the game got deeper and deeper, we've seen him slip.
Unfortunately, USB was just plugged in the wrong socket, so not able to secure that kill onto JacobHL. And now finding a retreat there was very solid.
Is that a joke at my expense?
I don't know what you're talking about,
Is
Tom.
that... I plugged the Wii into the Ethernet port. Is that what you're making fun of me for?
Oh, did you? I didn't know about that.
Totally, you are the worst of the worst of the worst. Team Rival, the best so far. They're leading in their region, #1. TMNT coming up hot, but Team Rival still the team to beat in Europe. If you ask, not just this broadcaster, but almost anybody that has paid attention to the EU console scene. That said, CAZ Esports, they got their number right now. CAZ up 10,000 gold. They've taken the last couple of large objectives, whether it be Gold Fury, Fire Giant, Portal Demon, or otherwise. And they've taken the majority of the towers. Only one tower remains with the Team Rival logo on it. And might have spoken too soon, because it goes down just like that. 1,500 in the pocket. Team Rival trailing by, again, 10,000 gold.
Still have to wait about 1 minute for this Fire Giant to respawn before CAZ go for that objective. They have enough time to position themselves to get this Gold Fury and then start traveling towards the right side of the map. And you definitely want to maximize this little bit of a window here to prevent to give anything from Rival back to get relevant into the game again.
So when we see the veteran teams like Team Rival, I think there are a couple of things that separate great teams or established teams from the up-and-comers. One of which is the ability to end games. We frequently see the established teams sort of sneak away the win in the end because the less experienced team just doesn't have the legs or the experience to know how to end the game. But also, the established teams that are a little bit more experienced, they know how to play from behind a little bit better than the teams that are up and coming. So CAZ Esports, it's absolutely imperative that they do not let off the gas, because a team like Team Rival that has been through the ringer, that has come to America for LAN, that has won games against some of the better teams in the world, this is a team that they're down 10K plus right now, but you still can't count them out because they've been around the block so many times.
As long as these team fights last a long time, Rival could potentially look to get back into this because of the sustain from Watts and Kraken and the Ymir ultimate being used, but it was stolen. The Portal Demon from Rival gets it stripped away, and now those are going to be one ultimate away from CAZ.
Look at the retreat right here. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I think that a more inexperienced team gets the steal and then goes for the kill. They go for the play, especially since you saw one player relatively low there and you know that the Ymir ultimate's down, but Team Rival, they fully back out.
I called that the Kraken was down thinking that it was going to be used on top of the Whirlpool with the Ymir ultimate, but that was not the case at all. And as a result, that gives Rival now this kind of ability to be able to ping pong between their fountain, between this Fire Giant defense.
And now CAZ, now they say, all right, we got the power position. Fire Giant half HP. Team Rival, what you gonna do? Team Rival want to fight right into it. Ultimate used out of the mid lane. Poseidon already. JacobHL very low. They can't finish him off just yet. Elexum on the backside getting attacked. Nobody to peel. He got to peel for himself. Drops down the cripple field. He's going to be strong for the moment. Nice back off onto Rapio, but here comes the damage, and down Elexum goes. First one to fall is going to be the mid lane, and it's still just a one-kill fight. JacobHL still very unhealthy, but protected by his teammates. Atonement pops the late frenzy.
He backed to base. He backed to base to buy that frenzied ritual and managed to bring that back into the team fight. And Rapio was just so tanky in that last encounter, having the pestilence, giving him the magical defense to be able to dive Elexum as long as he wanted to, being linked with Watson during that entire fight, giving him the birds, giving himself the double lifesteal with the seething. How?
This is where Rival is going to run into trouble when they're trying to take contested objectives from their own position. They just don't have the damage totally to rush it down like you see CAZ do on the other side. In the sky, it's going to be trouble, but it's going to be overpowered USB, taking down Atonement on the backside. Rapio answers back, taking down the new roster addition, Dobson. JacobHL very low. OPUSB has to be careful as Watson is here, however, and Watson has been swinging relatively strongly. You can see him sitting just below the midline in that player damage.
1 for 1 at the end of it. Both hunters do go down. Fire Giant still available. Neither team able to really secure this objective.
So during the draft, we mentioned it, and I mentioned it just there. Team Rival have no damage. They really just, your damage is coming from Hercules and Anhur. That's really where your damage is coming from. Rapio is a character that can go either way, and you can see building into the Pestilence and the Nemean line, the Bloodforge and the gloves not really giving him the damage that he wants. Team Rival's whole gimmick is CAZ Esports. You blow all your ultimates, and then we're still here, baby. That's the whole idea.
Pretty much.
Just to outlast. But the downside, and that's why they don't need that damage. The downside is when it comes to objectives, we see CAZ was able to rush down all those objectives with their ults. Here with the Fire Giant, Team Rival successfully outlast. They do what their comp is supposed to do, but they can't take the FG afterwards.
I mean, you say Rival don't have the damage, but honestly, I'm looking at Rapio, and despite him not having too much physical power here, the Seething Howl does apply him with more physical power as he's maxing that ability out, which he has successfully done so, sitting at level 19 now, having this double lifesteal here, now selling off his Bombas Mask for that Titan's Bane, giving him even more penetration to be able to even stick to tanks now if he so wants to.
It's just very interesting, you see, because the Thanatos, you have to push up a couple of spots because the damage isn't coming out of damage, but execute certainly is.
Stolen! Oh, it was not stolen. I thought that it was stolen for a hot second, but CAZ does engage with it. Athena ultimate. JacobHL takes a spill, but Dobson gets the worser end of things.
I thought you were talking about the life of Dobson because the fantastic ultimate out of the Cabrakan certainly stole the exit out of him. Elexum gets the credit for Atonement. Flip to the backside as Elexum is very low, and the big dog takes him down. Rapio, 25% HP, still dishing out that damage. Second in player damage on his team. Gnome falls down to OverPoweredUSB. It's a 3-on-2. Rapio, can he do it all for the team? He's got help from the mid lane, Aphrodite. Very low is OverPoweredUSB. He's the target, but he ages it out. Jumping up and down is going to be Rapio, but doesn't find the stun. Disc finds the target. That's the game changer. Freeze. Basic. Gone. Minos finds number 15 inches ahead of Team Rival. And this one,
great ultimate from Watson, preventing the hovering death as well, juking as long as he possibly can. The Doves are going to keep him topped off, and just like that, Rival, they don't steal away the Fire Giant here, but they strip it away from the two hyper carries out of Elexum, out of Dobson. This is going to heavily delay CAZ's push here in this late game with the Fire Giant.
You say that, and I think that you're more right than you're wrong, but Tully, what's that number in the goal difference say?
Okay, 12,000 goal lead. CAZ is still sitting very comfortably here despite not having this important late game objective on their two important characters here. However, regardless though, that last team fight, Rapio and Watson, they held off for quite a while, 2v3. This could be a situation where the next encounter in a 5-on-5 in a straight-up team fight around the Phoenixes could easily swing in Rival's favor.
Yeah, CAZ has to be very careful, and Watson and Rapio, you're absolutely right. Seething Howl amplifies your lifesteal by a whole bunch, plus the fact that he has Devo gloves on top of the Bloodforge. So a whole lot of lifesteal, plus the healing from the mid lane Aphrodite. It's just a situation that Rapio's only going to die if 5 players really commit to him, or he decides he wants to. That's what's going to happen with Rapio on this Fenrir, with the itemization, the teammates around him, and the job that he's been doing. Gold Fury pretty much free for CAZ right here. No real contest.
At this point, the gold does not matter for them. It's more just to deny Rival from being able to get back into the game in case all of a sudden CAZ all wipes, and then the gold here would go in the way of Rival.
You know, I think it's a different world. The gold matters a little bit more these days when everybody's 6-slotted because of the addition of rituals. You're looking at almost 1,000 gold coming up soon for the flickering. Right now, everything's 750. That's still a large amount of gold. Before, it was like, I'll buy a 400 pot, right? 350 pot. And then a 3,000 was so inattainable that you got there just by happenstance. But everybody's still looking for that 750. In fact, you see players still looking for these back camps at level 20 for exactly this type of situation. Frenzies can win and lose the game.
Ooh, Minos almost finding the wall, but it was going to be onto Rapio. And like you mentioned before, these rituals do play an important part into this game, which is why we see 2 Frenzies on both sides. But because of the goalie that CAZ has, they're able to afford 2 flickering rituals Rituals on both Overpowered USB and Dobson. So Overpowered can now successfully dive with his hovering def, and if things go really sour for him, he's going to be able to combat Blink right away.
Yeah, we'll see how Overpowered USB works out. He had a better early game than a late game, but all his job here to do is to sit in the sky and ult Watson. That's what he needs to do right now. His team brings Watson down low. Now that's a harder task than it sounds, but OPUSB has to find that hit. Jeron charging the stun, charging the charge, getting ready. Frenzy popped. That means it's time to fight. Immune, immune, immune. Nice Aegis coming out from Gnome, but here comes the rest of the team fight. Beads is going to get Dobson away from the jungler. Hovering in the sky is the Thanatos. No target just yet. Still lands down. Minos goes down to the hand of Atonement. Still trouble for OPUSB. Driving strike after the combo from Hercules. And he's going to be in trouble on the front side, leading the charge as Jeron is the one that's likely to fall here. The follow through. Rapio gets the kill.
No Fire Giant on the side of CAZ Esports, and like we mentioned before, Rival, they win these team fights. Just unfortunate misclick for Elexum, trying to get out of danger. Pops his trident for the movement speed, and that Whirlpool stops Gnome from being able to chase that down, but the Brutalizes here, forcing out the Aegis, taking a little poke from the Doves, and just like that with a 5-on-3, make that a 5-on-2, as Overpowered USB is more than likely to fall.
Atonement with another strong kill. Purified out the first stun, not the second one, however. Elexum's still going to be safe. 3 players dead for CAZ Esports. What I say before, Toli, Team Rival. These experienced teams are used to fighting down. They're used to fighting when they're behind, and the less experienced teams have trouble closing it out. Team Rival were down 15,000 gold at one point, and they take this fight. They're down 12K, a Fire Giant, 2 Frenzies, and Team Rival fight right into it like it ain't no thing. This is why they're numero uno. CAZ Esports, they still have the lead. I mean, right now, CAZ Esports are driving the Maybach, and Team Rival just took 1 pillow out from the driver's seat. CAZ Esports still very comfortable. But with these type of sequences, Toli, CAZ has to be more and more aware that Rival aren't done yet, despite them being down 11K.
They still have a lot of items available. Frenzied Rituals all across the board. 4 for the side of Rival, 1 for CAZ Esports. Left side Phoenix has to be dealt with by Minos, pushing that wave all the way past that mid-line mark. And Firegiant has respawned, but surprisingly enough, every member from CAZ elects to back on out, conceding it for
Frenzy
Rival.
Popped, yeah. Rival really going ham for this one. They absolutely want, no, they need this Fire Giant. Rapio pops over the top. Atonement looking at Elexum. Kraken comes out, but it's far too late. Rapio gets the kill with the Kraken down. The threat towards the Fire Giant just not there. And here comes the rest of the fight. Back on the Fire Giant. Overpowered USB. Jeron and Minos leading the charge. Nice freeze. This Rival peels off one more time. Now it's the Thanatos that's the target. Stuck, and he's stunned, and he's tremored, and he's gone. Watson version 3.0 gets the kill onto USB, whatever version he might be. The dog's the target right now, and he's going to be leading it. And trouble for Jeron. The dog is the target, the dog is the captain, the dog is the leader. Rapio gets the kill. 3 players dead. 50 seconds on the jungler, 50 seconds on the support. Rival, they get the tier 2 here, Toli.
This could be game here. This could easily be game. These respawns are really long. 45 for Jeron, about 35 for USB. Elexum's about to respawn in 10 seconds. Nice little petrify on the backside. Watson taking a lot of damage. Minos trying to hold off with his ultimate, but the Phoenix is dropping relatively quickly here.
The basics still finding their way to the Firebird, and it's going to fall down right now. Minos is very low, slowed up by the pillar. Team Rival going to play it safe. Backing off into the jungle. 40 minutes deep into this epic contest, folks. Team Rival leading by 5 kills, but way in the past as far as the gold is concerned. CAZ has led this game pretty much the entirety of the game. Now very deep. Gold is not really an accurate representation of where these teams are at. Team Rival has basically tied the game up with their last couple of sequences, but they did so when gold mattered. Down 12,000. That is the impressive part here, Toli. I can't How many times have we seen teams come back from a 12K gold lead?
Not very often at all, but the problem for CAZ was they didn't get any Phoenixes earlier on, so as a result, they weren't able to apply pressure onto the lanes. They tried to force the issue too hard on the left. They didn't play it slow and steady by baiting rival outside of the Phoenix.
I like the wall coming out from Jacob, and that's going to allow his team to finish at the Fire Giant. Stealable! Stealable! Elexum gets hit, and that's going to be a strong choice. If Elexum doesn't get driving struck by Gnome right there, that might be a steal. Great heads-up play by the solo laner.
Rapio is going to dive that back line. Going to get deterred a little bit, but he picks up the support instead of going for Elexum. A lot of trouble is going to be Jeron dashing away. Nice little freeze paired up with the Kraken. Not doing that much damage, though.
Overpowered takes to the sky far too early. No reasonable target. Has to fall back. Frenzy popped. CAZ Esports needs to make the wipe, but everybody's running the wrong way. Watson helps him out and pushes him even further all the way to the fountain. Elexum dies, and it's just 4 strong. Team rival from behind looking for the Titan, down 15K at one point. The Titan 2,000. Dobson gets the kill, 1,000. That's gonna be 0. Rival make the comeback, and that's the win. 22-16 through 41 minutes of play. Absolutely fantastic performance.
How is the question that I'm asking myself. They were down 12,000 plus gold for a majority of the game up until about the 33-minute mark when they defended that left side Phoenix. So important to be able to utilize everything at your disposal there. Aphrodite was the key successful factor there because that last team fight, the left side Phoenix, it was basically stopping the Kraken out of Elexum.
Very intelligent build coming out from Rapio on the dog as well, knowing that he was going to be a focus target because not a lot of damage on his team. Very important that he went the lifesteal build, allowing him to stay really relevant. And trouble in the jungle on the other side. Overpowered USB, really strong early game, but late game could not translate that on the Thanatos. Found himself ulting a little bit too early, missing when he did ult at opportune times, and just not really having the impact that he was able to earlier in the day.
The problem was every time he was caught in that Cabrakan ultimate, he didn't use hovering depth to get out of danger. Instead, elected to try to walk around it or maybe hope that his teammates would break down the wall, and that caused him to die several times where he didn't necessarily need to. And then that's when the play started happening from rival just to delay it down a little bit.
All in all, I don't think it winds up being Overpowered USB's entire fault, but definitely a chink in the armor there in the jungle. Want to see how that one battles it out. This is definitely a tape for CAZ to go home and re-watch and say, all right, what went wrong and where did it go? If you ask me, I think it's target selection. I think when it comes down to it, CAZ was just spread out, looking at many different targets instead of finding somebody, bringing them below 40%, and then execution by way of the jungle Thanatos. We'll see if the